The Sphinx, one of the most enigmatic monuments on the planet, stands as tall as a 7-story building and is longer than 2 basketball courts, making it one of the largest sculptures of ancient Egypt. Carved from massive limestone blocks that can weigh up to 200 tons, its construction remains shrouded in mystery to this day. The intrigue doesn't end with its origins or its ancient purpose. A deeper mystery lies in the web of stories, discoveries, and theories that have attempted to unveil its secrets. Who erected this extraordinary monument, and more importantly, why? What secrets are hidden beneath its imposing structure? Is there truly a secret city beneath its base? And why do some whispers speak of deliberately suppressed research? Today, we will attempt to answer these fascinating questions. But before we embark on this mysterious journey, if you haven't already and appreciate our work, we invite you to subscribe to our channel to support us. The Giza Plateau was once known as Rosto, which many researchers believe means the mouth of the passages. This name evokes images of hidden tunnels and buried chambers, fueling the imagination of scholars, archaeologists, and enthusiasts for centuries. So, what secrets lie beneath the arid soil of the Giza Plateau? Is there truly an intricate tunnel system? As we always do, let's start from the beginning to understand this complex story. In the early 20th century, a series of archaeological excavations brought the world's attention to Egypt. In 1923, in the Valley of the Kings on the Nile's west bank across from Luxor, the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun was discovered. This discovery, made by British archaeologist Howard Carter after years of fruitless searches, revealed an intact burial chamber filled with precious artifacts preserved for over 3,000 years. This find captivated the world and sparked renewed interest in ancient Egypt, leading to a new wave of archaeological explorations. A few years later, archaeologist Salim Hassan announced an incredible discovery. During excavations on the Giza Plateau, he identified a network of mysterious underground tunnels. Hassan's excavations at Giza were among the most extensive ever conducted in the region, leading to the discovery of the tomb of Queen Hetepheres, mother of King Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid. The tomb contained significant artifacts, including a small statue of the Sphinx. He also uncovered the remains of a small city, initially housing the workers who built the monuments, and later the priests who served the tombs and temples. Notably, Hassan discovered a deep well, called the Water Shaft or Osiris Shaft, in the causeway connecting the Sphinx to the second pyramid. This well starts in the underpass or covered passage beneath the causeway and leads to a wide corridor with another shaft at the end. This second shaft descends into a rectangular chamber with multiple niches containing sarcophagi. These niches held successive and invasive burials from the 26th dynasty. In one of the niches, a third shaft descended even deeper to another level. At the base of this shaft was a chamber almost entirely submerged in water. Hassan tried unsuccessfully to pump out the water for 4 years before giving up. However, the water was clear enough to see that the submerged chamber contained the remains of 4 pillars with a large sarcophagus in the center. Hassan's work proved beyond a doubt that the Sphinx was not just a standalone statue, but part of a much larger complex that included temples and other mysterious underground structures. This discovery was widely reported in the press at the time, but suddenly and without warning, the media coverage ceased. Egyptian authorities diverted attention to other initiatives, and archaeologists returned to focusing on tombs and treasures. Why did investigations into these significant discoveries stop? According to some researchers, there was a deliberate effort to cover up findings because what lies beneath the Giza Plateau could change everything we think we know about this ancient civilization. But what could be so earth-shattering under the desert sands? To understand this, we need to take a step back and look to ancient Greece.
There I saw 12 palaces arranged regularly, interconnected by terraces and positioned around 12 chambers. It is hard to believe that they are the work of human hands. The walls are covered with carved figures, and each courtyard is exquisitely built in white marble and surrounded by columns. Near the corner where the labyrinth ends, there is a pyramid 140 feet high, adorned with large carved figures of animals. and featuring an underground passage through which it is possible to enter. I was credibly informed that the chambers and underground passages connect this pyramid with the pyramids of Giza.
These are the words that Herodotus, the Greek historian considered the father of history, uses to describe this mysterious place, of which no trace remains today. It was a place used to store and preserve countless texts and ancient scrolls, which, according to testimonies, contained all the ancient knowledge of the Egyptian people. But Herodotus is not the only witness to these incredible structures. Iamblichus of Chalcis, a Syrian philosopher who lived in the 3rd century BC, provides a detailed description of a passage that, through the body of the Sphinx, would lead to the Great Pyramid of Giza.
This entrance, now blocked by sand and debris, can still be traced between the Sphinx's front paws. Previously, it was sealed by a bronze door, which could only be operated by the Magi. It was protected from the public, and a kind of religious fear preserved its inviolability better than any armed guard could have.
But there are numerous accounts of these ancient and mysterious underground places. For instance, the Roman historian Pliny, writing in the 1st century AD, mentions that beneath the Sphinx lies the tomb of a prince named Harmachis, which contains a grand treasure. Interestingly, in various ancient texts, the Sphinx was once identified as the Great Sphinx Harmachis, and was associated with the Egyptian god Harmachis. The 4th century Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus writes,
The inscriptions that the ancients carved on the walls of some underground galleries indicate that these passages were constructed deep underground to preserve ancient wisdom, lost in the Great Flood.
Even more extraordinary is the testimony of the Arab historian, geographer, and encyclopedist al-Masudi, who lived between the 9th and 10th centuries AD. Al-Masudi writes that the underground galleries beneath Giza contain mechanical guardian statues placed to defend the structure and its precious contents.
The written accounts of wisdom and achievements in various arts and sciences were deeply hidden, intended to remain as records for the benefit of those who could understand them in the future.
At this point, we cannot help but ask ourselves what is real in these accounts. If they are merely the products of these renowned authors' imaginations, why have many historians discussed them over the years? To try to answer this question, we need to jump forward in time to the early 1990s. In 1991, an expedition led by Egyptologist John Anthony West and geologist Robert Schoch set out to the Giza Plateau to examine the possibility of hidden chambers beneath the surface. Using sophisticated seismic equipment, the research team sent sound waves deep into the ground near the Sphinx, and the returning vibrations revealed the presence of unexplained anomalies in the soil. The analysis suggested the possibility of hidden cavities and vertical shafts extending deep into the ground. This discovery generated great excitement and questions. Where could these cavities lead? What secrets might they access? The possibility of uncovering buried chambers, or even an entire underground complex, fueled the expedition's enthusiasm and captured the world's interest. However, before these questions could be answered, the Egyptian authorities, led by Chief Inspector of Antiquities Dr. Zahi Hawass, intervened to halt the research, deeming it speculative and unscientific. Yet, the idea that something significant might be hidden beneath the Giza Plateau was confirmed a few years later by another Japanese research team. With the cooperation of Zahi Hawass and the Egyptian authorities, they conducted a new study using radar technology and thermography. This study also confirmed the presence of significant anomalies beneath the Sphinx, suggesting the existence of cavities and underground chambers. But once again, the research was suspended and did not yield concrete results. This reluctance by the Egyptian authorities to undertake thorough studies to determine the nature of these anomalies, along with Zahi Hawass's contradictory stance, sometimes confirming the possibility of underground chambers, sometimes denying it, has caused frustration and suspicion among independent researchers regarding the true intentions of investigating the matter further. After all, the hypothesis that the Sphinx might contain passages leading deep into the Giza Plateau is not unfounded. As we have seen, there are many historical testimonies confirming their existence. In 1798, the French archaeologist and artist Vivant Denon drew an image of the Sphinx showing a man emerging from a hole on top of the statue's head. In the 1920s, an aerial photograph taken from a balloon clearly showed a hole on the top of the Sphinx's head. In addition to historical testimonies, there is concrete evidence supporting the hypothesis that the Sphinx may contain one or more passages leading underground. However, the Egyptian authorities currently continue to deny this possibility. Historical accounts claim that beneath the Giza Plateau, there is a true underground city accessible from within the Sphinx. Stairs carved into the rock would lead to an enormous system of tunnels, caves, and chambers located beneath the archaeological site. This vast and complex underground system would extend eastward toward Cairo, and numerous excavations conducted throughout the 20th century have highlighted the real possibility of its existence. As we have seen previously, as early as the early 1900s, Hassan identified a series of wells and underground chambers located between the Sphinx and the pyramids. These structures are not unique to the Giza Plateau. The study of the vast archaeological site of Hawara, for example, which includes a pyramid and numerous surrounding structures, also indicated the presence of underground chambers and tunnels, suggesting a complex subterranean network. However, this network remains unexplored to this day. While the existence of a system of chambers and tunnels beneath the Giza Plateau, and particularly the Sphinx, seems supported by historical accounts and recent studies, it continues to be doubted and, according to some researchers, even obstructed by Egyptian authorities. The mysteries surrounding the Sphinx are not limited to this. Another open question is the origin of this extraordinary monument. Research conducted by West in the 1990s revealed not only a series of underground chambers and tunnels, but also something surprising about the age of the Sphinx. Until then, the age of the Sphinx was estimated to be around 4,500 years old, dating back to the dynasty of Khufu around 2500 BC. However, geological investigations conducted by West, in collaboration with geologist Robert Schoch, suggested that the Sphinx might have been carved much earlier, possibly more than 10,000 years ago, when the Sahara was still subject to heavy rains. This period corresponds to the end of the last ice age. The clues that led West and Schoch to redate the construction of the Sphinx are multiple. Schoch's geological expertise highlighted how the erosion of the Sphinx's rock differs from what would be expected in a desert environment. The erosion appears deep and irregular, more consistent with the effects of heavy rains or flooding. Additionally, the erosion observed on the Sphinx is significantly different from that on the surrounding pyramids. While the pyramids show erosion typical of wind and sand, the Sphinx exhibits wear marks incompatible with wind and sand, but consistent with water. This strongly indicates that the Sphinx might have been constructed in a different era from the pyramids. To summarize, according to official archaeology, the Sphinx was erected around 2500 BC, roughly 5,000 years ago. We know that Egypt's climate has been dry and then arid for at least 9,000 years. The Sphinx shows signs of water erosion up to almost half a meter deep. What does this imply? For the Sphinx to have these signs of erosion, it must have been built much earlier. According to some estimates, it would take 10,000 to 50,000 years for water to cause this type of erosion. Additionally, we must consider another piece of evidence. The quarries from which the Egyptian dynasties extracted large limestone blocks do not show signs of water erosion, as expected, given that the Giza Plateau has had a desert climate for at least 5,000 years. So, what mysterious atmospheric phenomenon caused erosion on the Sphinx but spared the quarries? Clearly, something about this story does not add up. Another clue suggesting the Sphinx might be much older is its alignment. In 1828, during a trip to Egypt, the German astronomer and mathematician Johann Friedrich Gauss was among the first to notice that the positions of the pyramids on the Giza Plateau seemed to replicate the stars in the belt of the Orion constellation. This initial observation was developed over the years, and several independent researchers refined Gao's intuition, describing the Giza Plateau as a true representation of the celestial order on Earth. The Great Pyramid of Khufu would represent the star Al-Nitak, the easternmost of the three main stars in Orion's belt, symbolizing the pharaoh as king on Earth. The Pyramid of Khafra would represent the star Al-Nilam, the central star in the belt, symbolizing the pharaoh as the representative of the sun god Ra. The Pyramid of Menkaure would symbolize the star Mintaka, the westernmost of the three belt stars, representing the pharaoh as the god of the underworld, Osiris. The Sphinx, facing east, is aligned with the star Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. Sirius was associated with the goddess Isis, wife and sister of Osiris. Additionally, the body of the Sphinx is that of a lion, a sacred animal in ancient Egypt, representing strength and power. The Sphinx's position at the entrance of the Giza Plateau symbolizes the pharaoh's role as the guardian of the underworld. Finally, the Nile River, flowing from south to north, runs parallel to Orion's belt. In the alignment theory, the Nile represents the celestial river, the Milky Way, which crosses the night sky. Today, due to precession, Orion's belt is slightly shifted eastward from the original alignment. However, around 10,500 years ago, when, according to the Orion alignment theory, the Giza complex was designed, the precession would have positioned Orion's belt perfectly aligned with the pyramids and the Nile River. Clearly, if we accept this, we would have to backdate the entire complex by many years. The hypothesis that the Sphinx is much older than its current temporal placement seems to be confirmed by an ancient Egyptian tablet found in 1850, known as the Inventory Stela. This tablet states that the Sphinx was not built by Khufu, but was simply restored by the pharaoh.
His Majesty ordered the restoration of the statue, which is in front of the Temple of Kem at Giza, after it had been neglected for a long time.
Thus, the Sphinx was already an ancient monument needing restoration 5,000 years ago. Given these incredible anomalies, we cannot help but ask, who actually built the Sphinx? If what we have presented so far are well-defined elements that anyone can analyze, to continue our story and attempt to answer this question, we must venture further and make some hypotheses. The Sphinx appears to have been erected by an ancient civilization that lived during the last ice age. If we accept what is written in the Temple of Edfu and some historical accounts from ancient Greece, this civilization originated on a mysterious island in the Atlantic Ocean, a place that was wiped out by a cataclysm. Those who follow our work know that we have discussed this hypothesis in several videos available on our channel. Looking at the civilizations that significantly influenced Egyptian culture, we find the Sumerians. Sumerian mythology speaks of divine beings, the Anunnaki, who descended from the sky and possessed great knowledge and advanced technology. Some researchers believe these beings described in mythology were not gods, but rather a starfaring people with advanced technology who came to Earth in search of natural resources to develop their civilization. It is fascinating to read some Sumerian texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh, which mentions the existence of large underground cities accessible through tunnels hidden beneath the sand, or the existence of beings like the Huwawa, gigantic beings with lion heads and terrifying appearances tasked with guarding sacred places. The description of these beings cannot help but remind us of the incredible account of the Arab historian al-Masudi, whom we mentioned earlier, and the fearsome mechanical statues guarding the underground chambers of the Giza Plateau.
I have seen things that I cannot describe for fear of causing doubt about my sanity, but I have seen them.
The depiction of beings with lion heads is not new in ancient Egypt. Some researchers believe that the original head of the Sphinx was that of a lion, and that it was modified over the years. Could there be a connection between these facts? Clearly, we don't know for sure. However, what we do know is that the ancient origins of the Sphinx open up fascinating and unprecedented scenarios. Who built it? An advanced civilization erased by a catastrophic event? Or is it evidence of an ancient contact with a starfaring people? And finally, What lies hidden beneath the Giza Plateau? Our hope is that new excavations and research will unveil the mysteries not only of these enigmatic structures, but also shed light on an ancient civilization that seems to have disappeared without a trace. Many questions remain unanswered, and many elements deserve further investigation. But now, we are truly curious to hear your opinions and suggestions. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to support our work. Until the next story.